Hey everybody, it's Will. We're back with another episode of Creators Outlet right here on the Outright Geekery Network. Today we're joined by Todd, the creator of, tell us about your book.
Hello, my name is Todd Black, and I am the creator of Tokyo Blade Detectives, an anime-style comic that is currently on Kickstarter for its third issue. So Tokyo Blade Detectives is a series set 200 years in the future, where Japan has been ravaged by a war. It's been basically burned to the ground and rebuilt by technology. And they are so desperate to both embrace the old but acknowledge the new that they have created one law that no one can ever break. You cannot have a gun. So this creates a power vacuum where they make laser swords with technology. And this allows 5 factions to rise up to cause absolute chaos in the capital of Tokyo. And so now people are just trying to survive in this craziness that is their home. And one of them is a 16-year-old girl named Miko, who is a detective and just trying to get by day to day. And she gets a case in the first issue that is going to change everything. So it's a very fun, very in-depth, very beautifully drawn anime comic that I absolutely love to make.
Now, how many projects have you completed so far?
Me personally, let's see. I've got 32 comics, 33 once Tokyo Blade Detectives #3 is made, and I've done 5 novels. So that's 38 published books, give or take. So, and I've done a few anthology pieces here and there, and some fan fiction. So,
Oh, that's quite a resume.
I like to write. It's what I do.
Hey, that's good. We like to read.
Good.
And not just comics. I've actually read a couple of books with no pictures whatsoever.
Wait, those things exist?
Yeah, I gotta own like a good 70 or 80 of them.
I mean, here's one that I wrote, Sherlock Holmes.
You wrote a Holmes novel.
Yeah, it's public domain. I had no idea until a couple of years back, and so I just started writing my own line.
Well, you have to do that, and we won't tell the mouse about it because then they'll come in and make a really crappy movie.
Like Artemis Fowl.
Yeah, Artemis Fowl, The Lone Ranger.
Oh gosh.
Warlord of Mars.
I don't know that one.
Maybe
that's a good thing.
John Carter, Warlord of Mars. It was.
Oh, John Carter. Well, don't tell that to my father. He loved that movie for whatever reason. I tried to hold it against him.
Sadly, it went right in line with the Dynamite series, but I remember reading, because I'm old, so I remember reading John Carter, Warlord of Mars when I was a kid back in the late 70s.
Yeah. I know it's an old series, but yeah.
But yeah, that's terrific.
Thank you.
Well, before we go back to the comic, tell us about your Sherlock Holmes line.
Okay. It's called Sherlock Holmes, the Greatest Detective. We have 5 books out. All of them are on Amazon. And basically, it's my take on the franchise and the characters with some twists along the way. So in my take, Sherlock and Watson met in college and were roommates. So try and picture that. And by the time we meet them in the first book, they've been doing their thing for about 10 years. They're at 221B Baker Street, and they start getting a string of very important cases that'll eventually lead them to all the major characters that you know and love, like Lestrade and Mary and Irene Adler and Moriarty. And it's really good. They're all original cases. The only catch is number 3. I do my take on the Hounds of Baskerville. Completely new. Yeah, well, it's just I really liked the BBC Sherlock episode about that, and then Elementary, which I absolutely loved. They did a good one on Hounds of Baskerville, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. I could do it. I could do a dog episode. Who doesn't want to do a dog episode? So, and I literally say the log line, it's Sherlock and Watson versus a bunch of dogs. What could possibly go wrong? So. It was one of my fun issues to write, but the rest of them are completely original mysteries, including the first one, which was my favorite, called The Swordsman in London, and it was really fun, like diving into like how do I think my takes on the Sherlock characters interact, and how does my Sherlock act, and I have him like a little bit of Cumberbatch and a little bit of Johnny Lee Miller with a few touches of my own, and it's really fun. And I took a break so I could focus on comics, but I will be eventually coming back to write some more because we're not done. I still got a couple stories left to tell at least, so we'll see how far it goes.
Well, good. It sounds fun. I definitely have to go on Amazon and search for those later on tonight.
Yeah, or you can just punch the Kickstarter and I might just send it to you for free. See? Self-promotion. Shameless am I.
It's the way to go.
So true.
Okay, now tell us how this comic series all got started.
All right, so Tokyo got started in absolutely the worst way possible. And I mean that in a funny way. Because you see, I went to Antarctica. I'm kidding. And I had to go in there. It's like, wait a minute, how does Antarctica tie into Tokyo? No, I was on Facebook, of all things, and I was just scrolling through my timeline, and occasionally, I'm in a bunch of groups because I'm a comic guy. And so one of the groups had a post that said, like, oh, what is your blah, 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 put your letters of your name here and everything. Mm-hmm. And mine was, what is your anime? And I'm like, okay, this is fine. So I decided to take 10 seconds. And so it was T. So it was first letter of my first name, T. First letter of my last name, B. Last letter of my first name, D. So TBD. And it turned out to be Tokyo Blade Detectives. So I was like, that actually kind of sounds like a cool name. So I put that in the comic, and Deadpool had just come out at the time. And in the movie, he goes, Deadpool sounds like a franchise. So I'd go Tokyo Blade Detectives. Sounds like a franchise. Hit enter. Clicked off the tab. I was done. Didn't think about it again. A couple hours later, I'm back on Facebook, and I get a reply from a guy I don't know. And I'm like, well, who's this guy that replied to my comment? And he goes, that actually kind of does sound like a franchise. You should maybe try something with it. And I'm like, okay. So I was like, okay, Tokyo, that's easy. So it's like an anime comic. I was already getting that picture in my mind. Detective meant modern age, but we're using swords. There has to be a reason. And then the idea just came to my mind, the log line that I always use. In a land where guns are outlawed, only the blade can rule. And I was like, perfect. So, and then right when that was like the key, and then my brain went overload and started giving me all ideas of the factions, how it would work. Of course, that's when the laser swords came to be. And it just became this cascade to where I did something I usually never do. I went to Microsoft Word and I started actually like typing my ideas, because usually I just keep them all in here. But for this one, I had so many ideas, I had to write them down. I wrote down like all the factions, all the synopsis, and I was doing this for like an hour because I just had so many ideas. And like, okay, what if I tie in this thing? What if because I wanted everything to root back to Japan. I just didn't want set in Japan. I wanted this to be like kind of like a celebration of the culture that I love. I love Japan and anime in general and everything that it gave me growing up. And so I was like, okay, we got to have Ronin because, that's a key thing. Of course, samurai serve the emperor, and let's have references to like yokai and all of this stuff. And I just threw in as many references as I could and could get away with. And it just sat there for like 2 years because I had other projects I had to do. And then when I decided I really need to start making this comic, I started looking for an artist, and I thought I found a guy. He did a really good test for me, and then he drew the first page, and it just didn't look good. I mean, I was like, this isn't working. So I took like another 4 months, and eventually I found my current artist, Lam Vuvan, who is absolutely killing it on art. He's like totally nailing the anime aesthetic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And so once I found him, we just went to work, and so now we're 3 issues in. We've already hit our Kickstarter funding goal. Now we're just trying to get to 100 backers. We're at 71 at the last time I checked. So it's going really well. People have really responded positively to it. I'm getting a lot of return backers upon the series, and it's so much fun. This is such a different comic than I've made in the past. I've made superhero comics, I made sci-fi fantasy, I've made children's style and science comics, but this one just has that really like deep lore that I really love. So it's like an anime. So it's so much fun, and issue 3 is such a blast. I know you love the pages, but trust me, 6 through 20 is going to be even cooler. I got some really fun stuff whipped up, and I can't wait to show it to everybody.
Now, are you wearing comic book merch for the series right now?
Yeah, this is the one of the official Tokyo Blade Detective shirts that we made. This is our main character Miko with her laser sword, and we actually even have a Japanese kanji that read "Welcome to Tokyo." So we offered that for the first Kickstarter. We aren't offering it now, but if anyone's interested, message me on Kickstarter and I'll make a reward. I also have another one featuring another one of our characters, the Empress. So if you want to wear a really cool Tokyo T-shirt, I will happily oblige.
So it's been a long time coming just to get to issue 3 then.
Yeah. And trust me, I had the first arc like planned out near instantly. I knew basically what I wanted to do. Like I referenced in my breakdown, Miko gets a case that is going to change everything, and I already knew loosely how I wanted to block it out. And so we're doing 3 issues of a story, and then the 4th issue is going to be like what I call an epilogue / prequel / interlude to the next arc, which is something I've honestly never really done before. And it's all going to be just like fleshing out the lore. And with issue 3, we introduce the yokai, who are my terrorists basically of Japan. They love to cause havoc. They have no one but themselves, and they don't care about hurting other people, which of course interferes with Miko, who has a job to do. And I've been waiting to show off the yokai because they have these really cool abilities that you'll see in the Kickstarter preview. And it's just this really beautiful thing. And Lam just killed it on their art. And we got some, my letter of Zaksam has a really fun way of animating how they talk. So that's really cool. And Miko's got some tricks up her sleeve, and I just really been waiting for this issue to come out so that we can showcase a lot more of the lore of this version of Tokyo, and I absolutely love it.
That you worked out in an hour 3 years ago.
Give or take.
Give or take, yeah.
Give or take.
So now I have to ask you, because obviously you're a big anime fan.
I try to be.
A little bit, yeah. What is your all-time favorite anime film?
Film or TV show?
One of each.
Okay. That's actually hard. The TV show is easy. TV show is Outlaw Star. That was one of my first ever anime series. I watched it on a Toonami alongside of like Sailor Moon and of course Dragon Ball Z. But Outlaw Star was just so flashy and fun. It was ridiculously awesome, and I loved it. I still have a crush on Aisha Clan. Don't judge me. But movie-wise, that's tough because I honestly can say I haven't watched many anime movies, and the ones I do really show how limited my scope is. I'd either have to go like Pokemon the first movie, or the Digimon movie, which again shows how old I am. But like those two, because I was huge in Pokemon, I still am, and then Digimon was my jam for years. And then when they came out with movies, I'm like, you can't stop me from going to the movie theater, Mom, to see this film. And I still have like the special cards that we got from like going to the theater. It was awesome, and Mewtwo was a boss, and the 2-part story of the Digimon film was really unique, and of course it tied into the TV series, and it was just a lot of fun. I need to watch more Studio Ghibli films because like those are like the epitome of great anime movie making. I just never had the time, though apparently they're on Netflix, so I might try that. But there's a lot out there, and there's still some anime I need to watch. Like I've not gotten into My Hero Academia yet. Just timing wise, I've never had the chance.
Oh,
but
so good.
It is so good. I hear so many great things, and I've seen like the show Death Battle.
Yeah.
Okay, like All Might versus Might Guy is one of my favorite episodes ever because of that really cool fight scene. And seeing the breakdown of All Might, I'm like, I gotta watch this show. Again, timing, and I'm so busy, I just haven't had the time. But when I do, it will be an epic binge of all time.
Well, I've got a tie for my favorite anime movie, and okay. The tie is the first one I'll mention has the upper hand, and it's Ninja Scroll.
Ah.
And of course, my second one, showing my age, is Akira.
Oh, gotta go Akira. I can say I've never seen it, but I've heard literally everything about it because it's Akira.
I own like 3 copies of it. I bought a digital copy of it on Vudu last week because it was like on sale for like $4.99.
The steal.
And I'm like, all my physical copies are in storage at a buddy's house right now. So
Yeah.
I've got the regular edition and I got the steel case edition. So,
Yeah, and though I cannot say when it'll happen, should Tokyo go the long run like I hope it will, because I want this to be an ongoing series, I will eventually do the motorcycle break scene because everybody does that scene in Akira. So I will find a way to do that scene in Tokyo somehow.
we had put up one of the guys had put up a whole bunch of Akira homages
Yeah.
for the motorcycle thing.
Yeah.
But it was like all different characters from all different movies, and one of them was Pee Wee Herman. So it's got all the Japanese caricatures going down, and where you would normally see like the Akira letters going up on the screen, like long ways, it says Pee Wee, and instead of the motorcycle, you look and you don't notice it at first because everything looks exactly like the Akira piece. And then you look up and you actually see Pee Wee's bicycle. So I thought that was hilarious.
Everyone loves Akira. So.
And I have so many favorite anime shows, but I have to say one that I fell in love with years and years ago would be Dirty Pair.
Interesting choice. Yeah, there's a lot of good anime out there, past and present. So it's a good time to be an anime fan, which is why I think it's perfect for the Tokyo Blade Detective series to be out there.
Oh, especially in a time where there's dedicated streaming services just for anime.
Yeah. And I would love for Tokyo one day to be an anime because we draw it like an anime, we script it like an anime. I even reference to people that I want this to, in tone and style, in a way, be like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, because another great anime, because every character in that series matters. Like, it's not just the Elric brothers, it's not just Roy Mustang, it's Hawkeye, and it's Shen, and of course the Deadly Sins, and all of them. Like, every single character matters in the small and the large scale, and I loved that. I loved binge watching that series, and so I'm taking the same methodology with Tokyo, where every character you meet in the large scale is going to matter, and it's a challenge, but it's one I'm very happy to take.
Cool. Let's jump over and take a look at the Kickstarter.
By all means.
Now, before I hit the magic button, the link for the Kickstarter is actually in the chat right now. So if you're on watching, hit that link and head over there and look for yourself, and you can follow along. It's like a storyboard. So, yep, still at 71 backers.
Oh,
Come on, people, let's go.
Like I just to let everyone know, though we are more than happy to reach our funding goal, as you can see on the page. We noted in our video that we want to get back to 100 backers. We had 100 backers in the first issue. Actually, we had like 106, and then issue 2 we missed it by like 3, and I was so mad. And so I'm dedicated to trying to get back to 100 backers. So if you all can help me with that, it would be much appreciated. So, but yeah. This is our Kickstarter page, and that snapshot is actually a cut from the cover made by my good friend Alex Garcia, who does amazing cover art.
And it's just as good down here.
Yeah. So yeah, there's the full cover for you. Miko with the yokai. So that's a great cover. Love that cover.
Now, tell us about Black Magic Wolf Productions.
That's me. When I was starting out, I wanted to, have my own name, And so my nickname in college and high school was Black Magic because my last name is Black. And no, I didn't come up with that nickname. My best friend gave it to me, much to his regret. I abused the heck out of that nickname. But I found out, so my thing was like, oh, I'll be Black Magic Productions because, I'm producing comics and I wanted to make video games, and long story. But apparently, no joke, there is a Black Magic Productions in Las Vegas. And I found this out in college because I was in a newsroom of all things to record a video game project. And on the soundboard was Black Magic Productions. And I'm like, well, suck. I can't do that now. And so I was like, well, what do I do? And I'm like, okay, well, let's keep Black Magic because that's still me. My favorite animal is a wolf. So Black Magic Wolf, no one was using that. And so that became Black Magic Wolf Productions. And then I found a person to make that really cool logo. And so we put that on all of the books my team makes, just to show that we are our own little entity, if you will. So
Your own branding.
yeah, and it works because like, oh, it's Black Magic Wolf Productions. They're the Guardians guys. They make the Sherlock books. They do Secrets of Science, sort of, and so on and so on. And now we make Tokyo. So
And it is a very cool logo.
thank you. It was one of two. The first one, I kid you not, this is before I knew about Game of Thrones. The first one looked like the Direwolf logo from House Stark. There we go, House Stark. And I'm like, and I didn't notice that at the time. But then the second one was the Wolf on Fire. I'm like, that one. And everyone loves that logo. So good choice, Todd. Yay me.
Yes.
So,
very good.
yeah, and then here we have the interior pages, which you can see and read in full on the Kickstarter. And these were 5 very important pages because, without going too much into spoilers, this is the first flashback scene of our story, and it's one that very much reverberates with what's about to happen in the story. So it was very important that we render this just the right way.
And is this a flashback from issue 2 or issue 1?
Neither. It's a flashback to much earlier time in this series.
It's a flashback that we haven't seen yet.
No. Yeah, it's like, this is like, when I say flashback, I think like Lost, like we're looking back into their lives, like that kind of a flashback.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it is the best move that everybody that I've talked to in like, the last 2 months has been doing, like, nonstop as a regular thing for years now with their crowdfunding books, and that's putting like the first 5 to 8 pages on their crowdfunding so people can read the first few pages to get a feel for the book.
Yeah. For me, I started doing that with my series Home, which was the first thing I got officially funded on Kickstarter. It was a brand new series. I had a new art team and a letterer, Zach Som, who's actually with me on Tokyo again. And I decided, like, I had failed making Kickstarters before for various reasons. But with Home, I absolutely knew I had to make it work. So I just had the idea. I didn't know other people had done this. I probably should have researched it, but I just lucked out. And I'm like, let's just do the first 5 pages. Let's show the world that this is how my comic is going to look. This is what it's going to be about. And like, then we'll do like the body of the Kickstarter. And it worked. And I've done it ever since because like you said, I want people to see what it's going to look like. I want people to see how it's going to sound and how it reads and everything, and to give them that like little stinger of an ending to where it's like, oh, I really do want to fund this so I can find out what happens next. And it works, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because in the age of we're going to put a beautiful cover on everything, but that artist is never going to do our interiors.
Yeah.
It's important for people to be able to see the interior art, and this interior art is drop dead gorgeous.
Thank you. I'll make sure my buddy Lam knows that. So yeah, that's my favorite panel right there. It's like,
yeah, that's just
the yokai on the car. I literally said to Lam, superhero landing on the roof, make it epic. And that's what he gave me. I'm like, perfect.
And that futuristic car looks like a Studebaker and a Volkswagen Beetle had a child.
I just told Lom to make a futuristic car. I didn't tell him what kind. And remember, and these are working class people, so of course they have a Studebaker Volkswagen Fusion. Of course they do.
I bet it's a hybrid.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. And I don't know if you noticed, but in the upper panel where we do the city shot, it's a floating car. See?
Well, it's about time. We thought we were going to have these things years ago.
Yeah. Well, we could have, but they cost too much and they were inefficient. So.
Yeah, and they couldn't figure out how to make them break down every 3,000 miles. So.
There you go.
So yeah, that is an epic panel right there.
I love it. And that's the beautiful thing for me with comics is that I make these comics and I know how I want them to look. And sometimes they don't look like I want them to, and I have Lom or Alex or whoever's working on the project correct it. But then sometimes, like with those two panels, the Bam and the Skrr panels, I just am blown away that they perfectly drew it the way that I wanted, or even better than I wanted, because I give loose descriptions and at times, and I just let them go crazy, and that's exactly the results they had. Like there was no changes on either of them, I think. And I've tried to sleep since then, so I don't exactly remember, but it looks so good. And even without the Bam on the panel, I love that shot because the yokai looks so menacing, and that's gonna ruin your day when a being just drops out of the sky and totally crashes into your car.
Yeah, definitely. That panel would make an awesome tattoo.
If I could make that a reward, I would. Get branded by the yokai reward. Oh, don't give me ideas like that, because I'm sure someone's gonna want to do. It's like, can you do the tattoo reward? I'm like, I'm not really sure how I would do that.
Well, the way it would work is you get this panel tattooed on you. You take a photo of it and send it to us, and we will draw you into issue 4.
Well, I already have that reward, kinda. I have a get drawn into Tokyo reward. Actually, it's you get drawn into the comic. So, I mean, it doesn't include you with the tattoo, but if you want, sure.
It could have you with the yokai tattoo, and then this same yokai will kill you
if you want.
See.
But yeah, it's our $50 reward. We only have 5 left, so if you're interested in getting drawn to the comic book, make sure you pledge soon. So.
Wow, I could be in a comic book and get drawn thin. I haven't been that way in a long time. If
you want, I don't judge. It's like, you're pledging, so it's like, what do I care how you want to look? Okay. I've had 2 backers pledge and then ask me to draw their kids into there. I'm like, okay. Actually, that's a funny story while you continue to scroll through the pages. My editor on the second issue, her name is Jane Curry, great lady, lots of editing experience. She pledged the first one. She's pledged all 3, but she's pledged the first one, and she goes, "Do you mind if you draw my kids instead of me?" I'm like, yeah, it's your pledge. Do what you want. And so she has 5 kids. And so I'm like, okay, it's going to be kind of awkward just to put 5 kids into a shot. And I'm like, how about this? What if I do something like kind of special? And she goes, okay. So I'm like, I'll draw them as like a singing group, like a J-pop group, and put them on posters. And then each issue has a different poster. And she goes, oh, that's a great idea. So we made a poster and we called it the Curry Kids because that's her last name. And so we're putting these posters in the first couple issues. And no one probably noticed it the first time. The second time, someone noticed it and went onto a podcast. It was a friend of mine named Spencer Scott. And he's talking with this guy, his co-host, and he goes, there's one question I absolutely have to know. And I'm listening to the podcast. I'm like, ooh, is he wondering about the mythology? Is he wondering about the characters? And the guy screams, who are the Curry Kids? And I start losing it because they're like, they're going like full conspiracy mode. It's like, are they like important characters? Are we going to meet them? Why are they so prominently placed in the comic? And then one of them eventually realizes that issue 2 had a had the editor named Jane Curry, and they're like, wait a minute, are they connected to the editor? I don't know. And they're like going on for like 2-3 minutes about this, and I'm laughing the whole time. And eventually they tweet this on Twitter, and I'm like, yes, the Curry kids are the daughters of the editor. They got drawn in. And they go, oh, I'm so relieved that I know now. Just like, I didn't expect it to have that much of an impact. I did it to be nice to the backer, and now it's like, who are the Curry kids?
You know, the whole geek culture thing, we like tear everything apart.
Yeah. Oh, and it's great stuff. I heard a Stranger Things theory today that was so out there, and yet the way they put it together was like, yeah, I guess I could see it. And it's like I love nerd culture because they notice things like that. Like, oh, I've seen that poster before. Wait, they're in both issues. Is there a connection? And like I love that line of thinking. It's just his reaction. It's like, who are the Curry kids? I love it.
That's why I have to read everything like 2 or 3 times. Because the first time I'm just reading through for the story. The second time I'm just casually glancing through for the art. And if I go through a third time, it's because I'm inspecting the art and taking my sweet time to do it.
Yeah, I've done that before. I was reading a recent issue. Oh, it was Fantastic Four Empire, like the prequel to the Empire Marvel arc that's going on.
Yep.
And I'm reading through this, and they're in like this. Franklin and Valeria are in a space casino because of course they are. They're kids, and I'm like looking at the panels, and I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I'm enjoying it, and then I see something, and I'm like, no, that's not. No, that can't be. So I'm pausing, and I'm looking in deep. And in that panel is Mojo Jojo from the Powerpuff Girls. Now, it's not exactly like a perfect one-to-one representation, but you look at that and you go, that's Mojo Jojo! And so I go on Twitter and I tweet Dan Slott, who wrote the comic, great job. And I'm like, hey, I took a picture, like, is that Mojo Jojo? And like a couple hours later, I go onto this comic book website, and on it reads, Mojo Jojo finds his way into Fantastic Four comic. And I'm like, I knew it!
Now I can tie another story to Mojo Jojo.
There you go.
There's a card game called Flux.
Okay.
And it's just a fun, silly, like all ages card game kind of thing. Right. But there's like a billion different versions of it. So my daughter, who's 12 now, has the Cartoon Network version. And sometimes a card will come up, so you have to speak in a cartoon voice every turn, or you lose the advantage of something in the game. And 9 out of 10 times, I get the character card of Mojo Jojo, and my daughter hates it when I do this. But she'll look at me and her eyes will already be rolling in the back of her head. And I'll be, Mojo Jojo draws 3.
I like it. Like, Mojo Jojo, this is I, the most impressive and brilliant villain in the world. Mojo. Oh, gosh. I was just like, why was he in the comic? Because Dan Slott thought he could get away with it, or his artist thought he could get away with it. I don't know. One of them put it in there, and it's canon now. He's in Fantastic Four.
Either way, that's really funny.
Thanks.
Kind of like this page, just for her line.
Yeah. Well, that if you scroll up really quick, I want to give a little backstory. So, yeah, so like we see them in that panel. They're jumping off the building. That's like the follow-up from the Stinger in issue 2, where we see the yokai looming. And then the panel on the right, you kind of see like something's going on, but you're not quite sure what. And I wanted to give that suspense of like, what's exactly about to happen. And of course, the guy whose name's Toshiro, he goes, oh, I think we lost him. And then you scroll down and they go, you didn't lose Jack. No.
Yeah.
And like,
you had to ask.
Yeah, I had to ask. It's like, and that's why I call them the terrorists, because, it's all about the fear. And what's more scary than that? white masks, red eyes, black smoke. They're somehow flying. It's like, what is going on here? So it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's an awesome thing.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the reasons I really was eager to get to number 3, because of those panels where you show the yokai in action, because I had kind of done very light things to show this was an anime comic, the visuals, the laser swords, and I'm like, but I hadn't really gone full anime just yet. And yet there you are, transforming smoke creatures, lost reference. And, and then later on we have another anime thing that pops up. I won't spoil that, but it's like, this was my moment where I'm like, you want to know how full anime I'm going? There's the yokai.
And the darker side of Tokyo arises.
Yep. So, yeah, and there's actually the original concept art of the yokai. Very simple design, but that's what I wanted, because they don't care about their looks. They're here to scare you. They're here to terrify you. And the yokai are monsters in Japanese folklore. So that's what I want. I want them to look like monsters, and that's what we got. The red eyes, though, that was actually Lom's doing. I didn't think about the red eyes. I thought black eyes are scarier, because it's like, you can't see their eyes. Are they really looking at you? That's what I was going for. And then Lom draws the red eyes, and I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Ugh. So.
Well, it looks great here, but once it goes full color, the red eyes do make them pop and a little scarier.
Yeah, because red eyes are classic. That's classic horror. The red eyes in the dark. It's a beautiful thing.
So tell us about everybody on the team.
So I got a 4-person team. Myself, I'm the writer and creator of the series, and then Alam Vivon, who this is my first project working with him. He does all the interiors, the pencils, the inks, the colors, all of it. And as you've seen, he does a magnificent job, and he fixes things if they don't mash up correctly. My editor is Casey Pierce of Red Pen Media, and also a comic book writer. She has written many things for Source Point Press, a great great publisher out of Michigan, who I hope to work for soon. Casey is great. She loves this series. Like, when I showed her the comics and the scripts for this, she's like, "Oh, this is so dope." So we're gonna be working together for a while. Zach Som, I have known for a very long time because of Twitter, and we've worked on a few projects together, including Home and now Tokyo. He is a fantastic letterer. He's worked for multiple publishers, including DC and IDW and certain others, and he just really brings the letters to life and makes it pop. And when I was doing the beginnings of the series, I knew I had to have him on here, because I knew he would give me the most professional lettering job possible, and that's exactly what he does. So I have a really great team. We work really well together, and I want to work with them on this for as long as possible.
And a really cool looking logo,
which was made by a friend of mine named Corey Burton, who does logos for all sorts of things, and he was actually the one who did this shirt.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah, he's a really great guy.
Pandemic media coverage.
I wanted to just really quick. I wanted to talk about the pandemic, because this Kickstarter is actually supposed to start like months ago. Like, my plan was to actually be close to 4 by now, but then the pandemic hit, and I just knew it was not going to be good, and it wasn't going to be right to start a Kickstarter during that time. So I waited as long as I felt was possible. And I put the section here and saying, if you can't pledge, it's totally fine. I've had multiple people who pledged in the last couple say that they can't do it for one financial reason or another, and it's totally fine. And for others, they go, I can only pledge like a couple bucks, and I'm like, that's totally fine. Pledge what you can. I know the pandemic is hard. We've all been hit by it. We will continue. We've already hit our goal, so so that was the biggest thing, and that's why actually the goal was 750. That was the lowest I've ever done, because I was trying to help out with the pandemic, because I knew it was just hitting everyone. So, and this was my way of saying, I appreciate all your support. Do what you can if you can do anything, and if you can't pledge at all, just share it around, because that really helps too. So I was honestly just trying to be as forthcoming and honest and giving as possible, and saying, if you can give that's perfect. If you can't, I totally get it. And because it's so hard. I have so many friends who are, were hit really hard by this, and I got family who's also struggling, and it sucks this year. This year sucks. Okay, this year sucks.
I hadn't noticed it.
It's only August. You haven't gotten to the worst part. But the main election is still coming, so I guess there's that. But yeah, I like this year totally went out the window once March basically started for me, and so I'm still making comics, and that's why I made this goal as low as I felt was possible to get the comic done. And now we've reached our goal. Now we're just trying to get 100 backers, but I will not fault anybody for not pledging because they can't, or for one reason or another, because you need to take care of yourselves first. I appreciate you supporting my creative endeavors, but you need to take care of yourselves first. And
either way, you can click on the Kickstarter link in the chat.
yes.
And if you can't financially back, you can share it around. If you're in any comic book or geek culture groups, you can share it out in there.
Yeah. Or you might know someone who's an anime fan. And you go, hey, there's an anime comic. Maybe you want to check this out. That helps. Every look, every share, every $1 pledge helps, and that's all I'm asking for.
And if you're not sure if you can always hit the remind me button. So towards the end of the Kickstarter campaign, it will pop back up in an email for you to remind you, and you'd be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, and you have like 19 days left, so you got time. This isn't a rush job, if you will. So it's not like you're in like the last 48 hours and, oh, can I pledge or not? No, you got time. So do what's best for you. And I appreciate any support you can give. And then if you can give more than $1, as he is now scrolling, we have a lot of really good rewards that fit all sorts of tiers. We got for $3, you can get the PDF for Tokyo Blade Detectives #3. If you've never read the series before, for $5, you can get the first 3 issues in PDF form sent to you. For $10, you can get a physical copy. For $15, you can get digital copies of every single comic that I've made. Guardians, which is 20 issues. Home, which is 5. 10,000 Miles, which is a graphic novel. And then all 3 issues of Tokyo, should you need it. And then if you've watched this podcast and you want my Sherlock books, I'll throw those in for free. So, which, I mean, it's going to be free anyway, but still, like that's a lot of stuff for $15. And then we have combination deals where you can get a physical copy and the digital comics. For $50, you can get Drawn into Tokyo. I have 2 tiers where I will either review a script of yours, like a comic script or a book script, even if you want, or I will help you go from conceptual phase of making a comic book all the way up to Kickstarter. I will walk you step by step so I can help you make your own comic. And then the final reward is that one right there, all the comics. If you pledge $150, I will send you a physical copy, trade paperback form of every book I have made outside of Tokyo, because that's not trade paperback yet. But still, it's like 30 plus comics for $150.
And that is limited to 10, and somebody's already backed on that. So there's 9 chances on that. The Tokyo helps you make comics. There's 4 out of 5 left on that. And wow, you had like 5 people get drawn in already, or is that the Curry Kids?
No, that's not the Curry Kids. Curry Kids is 1. The Curry Kids is 1. But no, the Get Drawn reward has been one I've done since Home, and it's easily the most popular reward outside of like the $3 digital copies and the $10 physical ones. Like a lot of people always pledge to that, so I always try and do as much with that one as I can, because a lot of people
doesn't want to be in a comic.
Exactly. Who doesn't? So it's a beautiful thing, and I love it. And I love their reactions to, oh, that's me in the comic. I love it.
I'd be like, if I got drawn into a comic, I'd end up wanting to buy like 20 copies. Just gonna be, yeah, I'm in this book. Want me to sign it for you?
if you want.
You know.
I mean, you got 5 opportunities. It's right there, man.
Now, as we said, this year already sucked. But then I got a little scared because I'm like flipping around movies on Netflix late last night, and Mad Max is on, and Mad Max is set in 2021.
We're doomed.
And I'm like, oh, well, can I get the car at least?
Yeah. So would you say that if we go Mad Max next year, you could say our civilization really ran out of gas?
Unless there was a Taco Bell, yeah. Don't worry, people. I will not be getting dressed up in an all black leather outfit.
Witness me.
I look more like the lower half of Master Blaster from the next movie. But so there's plenty of tiers. There's lots of great stuff to get in on, and the complete digital PDF package for $15 that's good enough reading to keep you going, and actually until next year.
Well, it depends on how fast you read.
Or, in case the murder hornets come back.
Oh gosh. The sad part was I actually knew about the murder hornets before they ever came to America, because I had to write a story on them once, because let's just say they swarmed a woman and it didn't end well. But so I already knew about the murder hornets, and people were like, these things exist. I'm like, oh yeah.
Scientists keep like cross-pollinating things, and it never ends well.
But this is not a cross-pollination. This is a natural thing. Now, killer bees, that was a cross-pollination thing that backfired horribly. The murder hornets are all natural.
Ooh, all natural.
Yeah. Yep. Just like the bullet ant or the driver ant, which can kill.
Great. I can see now all the vegans are excited about the murder hornets because they're all natural.
Yes, free-range hornets.
Free range hornets.
We'll go anywhere in the world to sting you.
And they will too.
Yes. And they're just hurt. They do.
They're just ornery. I'm allergic to anything with a stinger, so.
Yeah.
Lucky bee.
Yeah. We all have our weaknesses.
Yep. So, are you still working on issue 4?
We haven't started yet. I like focusing on the Kickstarter. I will say though that because we have hit our funding goal, are now well enough about it that I feel comfortable moving on. We have started the final pages of TBD number 3. We were already well into the comp before the Kickstarter started. But I wanted to wait to hit our funding goal, and now Lam is working on the final pages. I actually have to go review one tonight. So by the time the Kickstarter ends, we might actually be really close to finishing the book, which means it'll be getting out to the backers even faster, which is always a goal of mine.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And the way you've got your pledges set up, you've got the book to get into as many readers' hands as possible.
That's what I like to do. Like it was something I had to learn step by step, but digital copies, physical copies, offering lots of comics for a low amount. That's what brings people in. That's what people like to get. And so I offer as much as I can. I want to have something that can reach as many people as possible, especially since I want to get, 100 plus backers.
Oh yeah. So. And I've seen the popularity of the indie digital comics, like bundles in various other people's Kickstarters that I've talked to.
Yeah.
There were 2 guys that co-created a book that they're working on now, and but between the 2 of them, they've got like a good 17 to 24 various other comics that they've worked on.
Nice.
So they put all those together along with some comics from some friends that have worked on projects with them, over the years. So they put together like this nice big, independent bundle, so you can get like a smorgasbord of really cool indie comic talent.
Yeah, and like I noted, the comics I've made, all different genres. You got superhero, sci-fi, fantasy, Disney, Pixar style, and now anime, because I like to keep it very diverse and again reach as many people as possible. So if you get the $15 or all the comics or the hybrid ones, you're gonna have a lot of reading material. So I highly recommend it.
It is definitely pro-pandemic. It's pro-pandemic comics.
That makes it sound like I'm for the sickness.
Nope, you're for the entertaining people until they can get back to normal.
That I will accept. Yeah, because we all need new content in these day and age.
Oh yeah,
and
we all need to be entertained.
And hopefully this comic will do that.
And get something to read, get your mind off your troubles for the day, and disappear into a different world altogether.
That's the goal. That's why I like to write.
And then have some evil thing come crashing down on the hood of your car.
Bam! I almost want like do like an animated splice of that in Deadpool. It's like, oh, he's gonna do it! He's gonna do it! Superhero landing! Crash! Yeah, all it is, superhero landing. Rough on the knees. So. Oh.
Now you do the Sherlock Holmes books. Do you have any other novels?
I'm working on an original novel right now. I have no idea when it'll be finished because I keep trying to start it and things happen, and yeah. But hopefully, I will have it done soon-ish. And then I'm always working on other comics. I'm going to be submitting to a publisher soon for something, and we'll see where that goes. Because I've got like so many ideas in my head, which is why Tokyo was stuck in limbo for so long. But I've got some other ideas that I'm going to be fleshing out soon, and hopefully those will be coming around soon, maybe on Kickstarter. You never know.
Kickstarter, or maybe with some small press indie companies.
That's the dream. I would love to work for a publisher.
There's some great small press publishers right now.
Mm-hmm.
And just about every day I come across 2 or 3 more.
So.
Just the way all the algorithms from all the social media work. Oh, here, look at this sponsored link. And come across some great stuff. And I mean, this book looks great. Please please click on the link. Click on the link in the chat and head on over to the Kickstarter. Please check it out for yourself. That way you can actually read the first few pages of the book of issue 3, get a feel for it, and pledge or at least share it out to get any of your friends that might be interested.
I would appreciate it.
Book looks great, and it looks like a very exciting read.
Thank you.
So I hope you make it to that 100 pledge mark.
Certainly be off my mind.
29 people to go to the Kickstarter.
Yeah. So please, 29 people. And again, those 29 people can pledge $1. I don't judge. It counts.
Every penny counts.
Yeah. Well, you can't pledge a penny. You can pledge $1.
You can pledge $1. Well, it's a bunch of pennies.
That's true.
So, But I want to thank Todd very much for being our guest tonight and telling us all about his new Kickstarter that you can go to by just clicking on the link in the chat. Take a look at it and read the first few pages and get behind this project.
Any support is welcome.
Yeah, and if you are a Sherlock Holmes fan, you can head on over to Amazon and find 5.
Yeah, it's called. Look up Sherlock Holmes, the Greatest Detective. You'll find the books.
And you have 5 novels out right now
Yes.
for that. See, my mind's not completely gone.
Night's still young.
You know, if it was, I might be running for president this year. Who knows?
I'm doing that in 8 years.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah. I would do it in 4, but I turned 35 like right on election day, and I'm sure they're not going to let me in. So whatever.
Yeah.
Details, laws, stupid.
Well, when you run, everybody can get a free comic.
That'll be part of my platform, I'm sure.
Well, there you go. So I want to thank you very much for being our guest tonight. Best of luck with the Kickstarter.
Thank
We
you.
hope you can hit that 100 goal mark. And until next time, we'll see you right here on Outright Geekery.